Heck yeah, America, home of the free and land of the brave, inventor of the telephone and the internet, McDonald's and monster trucks, Polly Shore and pajama jeans. From extension ladders to embalming, that can-do spirit of innovation has made America the place where dreams come true. While Americans didn't quite invent the concept of embalming, during the Civil War we took the idea and ran with it, creating an entire funeral industry and more than a few mummies along the way. That's right, in America we got our own mummies. American mummies! And rest assured, when America does mummies, shit gets weird. In 1888, farmer/undertaker Graham Hamrick of Phillipi, West Virginia, was trying to perfect his embalming solution. With ingredients he supposedly procured from the local grocery store, Hamrick began by embalming vegetables before moving on to animals and then human subjects. For his human subjects, Hamrick purchased 2 female corpses from the Weston Hospital, aka the infamously haunted Trans-Allegheny lunatic asylum. Drilling holes in either side of the women's stomach, he put them into airtight boxes and repeatedly drained the fluid from out of them. Once they were totally drained, he pumped them full of his secret embalming fluid. Again with the secrets. I don't know if you've been paying attention, but something all of these upstart embalmers seem to have in common is their secrets. Listen, bruh, no one wants your secret fluid. You're good. Anyway, Hamrick's secret fluid. Psst. It was potassium chloride and sulfur gas. Spoiler, was a success, and the women were rendered hard as cement and permanently preserved. Word of Hamrick's mummies spread, and they toured Europe for years as P.T. Barnum curiosities. The Smithsonian Institute was so impressed with the mummies that they offered to display them if Hamrick would give them his embalming recipe for the little placard. Hamrick refused, so they sent the mummies back to Phillipi, where after some public attention, they were forgotten and then misplaced. Honey, have you seen my corpses? You know, the two ladies, the embalmed ones? No? Oh, okay. Decades later, the mummies were found in a barn, after which a Phillipi local took them and stored them under his bed. But in 1985, there was a flood and the mummies became waterlogged, so they were brought out and left to dry on the post office lawn. Like you do! Small town America. Unfortunately, after the flood, the mummies started to mold, and another local came up with a mixture to clean them. But the mixture didn't just take off the mold, it also took off all of the mummies' hair. Since then, the bald mummies have rested in a remodeled bathroom of the Barber County Historical Museum, where they survived a second flood in 1994. Airwick air fresheners reportedly keep the mummies smelling fresh inside their glass-top caskets. And anyone can visit them after paying the suggested donation of $1. American mummies! It was around the same time the Phillipi mummies were weathering their second flood when another American mummy was finally laid to rest. After 66 years of being on display at a Paducah, Kentucky funeral home, Henry Speedy Atkins was finally buried. Born in 1875, Atkins had been a tobacco worker during his life, and the nickname Speedy, I guess, came from how fast a worker he was. In 1928, he drowned in a fishing accident on the Ohio River, and no family came to claim his body. So a friend of his, A.Z. Hammock, the only black mortician in town, took his body into the funeral home. There, Hammock decided to test out his own experimental embalming fluid on Speedy. Yeah, I mean, what's a little experimental embalming among friends, right? Though the solution turned Speedy's face a reddish color, overall the experiment was a success. You could still tell it was Speedy, and his body was rigid and resistant to decay. Hammock and his wife Velma dressed Speedy in a tuxedo and allowed visitors to come see him free of charge. He wasn't always on display out in the funeral home. Most of the time he was kept propped up in a closet. Even after A.Z. Hammock's death in 1949, Velma continued to care for the Speedy mummy, cleaning him and making sure his clothes were changed 3 times a year. After several television appearances, Speedy became something of a local celebrity, and until he was buried in 1994, Velma would continue bringing him out for anyone who wanted to see him. "I never saw a dead man bring so much happiness to people," said Velma. Speedy was at last buried at Maple Lawn Cemetery in Paducah. His headstone is engraved with a fish, which honestly is a little triggering, given that he died in a fishing accident. Inscription: Charles Speedy Atkins, lived 53 years as a pauper, embalmed by A.Z. Hammock, buried 66 years later as a celebrity. American Mummies! All of these embalmers seem pretty proud of themselves for embalming the mentally ill and poor without their consent. But mummies in a tuxedo! Whee! Do you have a weird mummy with a weird backstory where you're from? If you're from a small town in America, or honestly anywhere around the world, yeah, you just might. Remember, Deathlings, you will die. Let's just hope your body doesn't get left behind to your sketchy experimental embalmer friend. This video was made with generous donations from death enthusiasts just like you. American